Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our meeting this month for March. We'll call this meeting to order. Before that, I will offer the pledge. After that, Mr. Clark will offer an invocation, and then we'll move on to the agenda.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for this opportunity we have to gather. We're thankful for the circumstances that we gather in, and we're thankful for the freedoms that we enjoy. We're thankful for the opportunity we have to discuss the needs of the students and the teachers and the faculty at the Show Low School District. We are grateful for the charge that was given us as elected body. We pray that thy Spirit will be with us and help us to make informed, educated decisions that we will be able to discuss and get to the bottom of the needs of the district and make decisions that are in the best interest of this district and this community. We pray that thou will give us the wisdom that's beyond our own abilities, that we will be able to speak openly and freely, and that we will have a spirit of civility among us. We ask these things all in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay, we better approve the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move we approve it.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Do we have recognition of legendary staff this
Not
month?
this evening.
Okay. Call to the audience. Do we have any? No call to the audience? Future board agenda items. Anybody have anything they want or need included on the future board agenda? No? Okay, we'll hear from our superintendent. Give us a report on how things are going here in the district, please.
I'll keep it brief. We have a lot of construction going on. You'll notice at every campus there's some dirt that's overturned, and we had a lot going on, or do have a lot going on at Linden and Nicholas. Currently, the junior high is in kind of a transition. They've finished one little piece and they're moving into another piece. We have staff moved out of their normal offices, and things are beginning to ramp up. At the high school, we're finishing the breezeway, and things are looking really well. At one point in the summer, we just were talking to our school facilities board liaison, and she had mentioned at one point in this summer we'll have about 20 projects in the air at the same time, which is quite a few. At the beginning of the bond, I want to make sure we report this out. At the beginning of the bond, we had mentioned we want to take our 10 million, which no one felt like would be enough to meet all of our deficiencies, and make it 15. We're well on our way. In fact, when we met with the SFB a couple of days ago, we were planning projects for the next 3 years. And so there are a lot of other things that are coming up, and the SFB is, it looks like we'll be able to continue to tap them. In fact, there was a question asked, why is Show Low getting so much SFB money? Well, we're going to continue to look to get more SFB money, and we're okay with that. We're also wrapped up with spring break, have spring sports going full bore. We have AZ merit testing coming up throughout the district. That'll launch next week with the Ames Science and other things like that, and then it'll go into a full month of testing. Not all kids will be tested all month, thank goodness, but there will be pockets around the district throughout the month that will be tested. We are doing real well in our hiring cycle. We've either offered positions that are in consideration for acceptance, or we've already secured those positions. And we're down to just a few left in the district, and we're really excited about that. So that's my report, Mr. President, members of the board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Item 3.1, approval of overnight and out-of-state travel. Mr. Housley.
Mr. President, members of the board, there are two items for your consideration. One is a recommendation from Mr. Marchant to have Cynthia Whipple and Marshall Pratt have them be able to take their choir and band students to the All-State Music Festival at NAU, April 11th through the 13th. That's funded through high school activity funds. Also, Mr. Marchant has asked for your approval with Mrs. Goodman to take approximately 40 FBLA students to the state FBLA competition. That's April 24th through the 26th in Tucson. I would ask for your recommendation and consideration at this time.
I'll make a motion for approval of overnight and out-of-state travel.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Approval of additional positions. Mr. Housley.
Mr. President, members of the board, these are for the upcoming school year. When we were considering our needs, there are two positions we were asking for your consideration. In our last work session, Mrs. Clark presented the junior high schedule and the things that they're doing to meet the needs of the students and the growth that we have there. And she is requesting the addition of one junior high teaching position. And then Mr. Marchant, in our attempts to try to get WMI to stand on its own as its own entity, which it is seen that way through the state, and to also meet the needs of credit recovery students at the high school, we will need one additional paraprofessional for next year to run that credit recovery program at Show Low High School, not in WMI. Okay, so that's what these two positions are for, and we would ask for your approval at this time.
I'll make a motion for approval of additional positions as presented.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Questions about this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item 4.2, approval of resignations, retirements, and terminations. Mr. Housley.
Mr. President, members of the board, we have a few for your consideration this evening. Miss Marianne Dunlap, a second grade teacher at Whipple Ranch, effective at the end of the school year. Morgan Kime, high school math teacher, effective at the end of the year. And then also Eric Ludwig, that was effective March 1st. Those individuals have submitted resignations at this time. Also for your consideration, Ms. Carol Williams, a food service manager, has expressed her interest to retire effective on the 24th of May. And so I would ask for your approval of these at this time.
Make a motion to approve resignations, retirements, and terminations.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item 4.3, approval of new hires and transfers. Mr. Housley.
For your consideration this evening, we've had a pretty busy hiring season, as I expressed in my report, and so we would ask for your consideration of these individuals. New hires: Christina Allen as a junior high social studies teacher, Caleb Beecroft, a Nicholas Homestead fourth grade teacher, Kalani Gangloff, food service worker, Debbie Hall as the Whipple Ranch principal, Madeline Jones as a Nicholas Homestead special ed TA, Miranda Jones, Linden fourth grade teacher, Ashley Page, Linden second grade teacher, Sherry Ramirez, Linden third grade teacher, Eric Reed, high school boys PE teacher and head wrestling coach, and Heather Stahl as the high school special ed EDP TA. Also, as a transfer at this time, we ask that you would approve Alex Dietering from Whipple Ranch kindergarten position to the full-time ELL position at Nicholas Homestead, Clayton Monet as a high school from the White Mountain Institute instructor to a junior high teacher, and also Jenny Neff as a Nicholas Homestead health tech to become the Whipple Ranch secretary. I ask for your approval at this time.
I'll make a motion for, go ahead, Amy.
If we wanted to pull someone off, how do we do that and vote separately on them? Is that possible?
Just request that. You
Well,
just
I would
go ahead and-
request that we approve this and without Debbie Hall, because I would like to vote on her separately as the principal.
Okay, so you have a motion to,
Okay, I need a second to that motion, please.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve new hires and transfers as listed without Debbie Hall to be done separate. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. So now I will take a motion on the individual Debbie Hall only.
Well, I would move to approve Debbie Hall as Whipple Ranch principal, but I would move that. Okay, I've moved that. That's,
Okay, so is there a second?
I will second it.
I have a motion and a second, and I'm sure there's some discussion.
yes, I would like to have you explain your hiring process, if you would. I'm thrilled personally to have Debbie Hall as a principal. But I would like you to explain for our audience, what we have done to select her as our principal.
okay, perfect. I would love to share that. We announced the position through our announcement process, including our website and other means. And then we left it open for about a month to collect applications.
Was that just statewide, or was that a national?
No, that was just statewide.
Statewide, okay.
Interestingly enough, though, we did receive candidates from across the nation. We had one from South Dakota, and we had another one from Texas. And so we ended up at the end of that, we decided to close the position after about a month because we had 16 candidates. We did a paper application review, and we reviewed those and narrowed them down to 5 candidates that we felt like met the qualifications in order to be interviewed for the position. We had some, for instance, what would disqualify a candidate from being interviewed? A person that had only secondary experience, no K2 experience, no teaching reading experience, nothing in that area that might disqualify someone from that. Interestingly, most of our candidates were would be first year administrators, with the exception of 1 or 2. We then offered the interviews to those 5, and they all accepted interviews. We send them an email the night before, and we gave them some homework to do. They had to complete a task where they analyzed real data. It was real Whipple Ranch data, and they had to express how they would plan and set goals according to that data. In the past, we have brought them in, and the day before their interview, an hour before their interview began, they had to do respond to 3 of 5 questions.
Do you have a committee?
Yes. So they would have to do that, but they didn't. This time we opted not to because 3 of the candidates, because of their out-of-state nature, had to be interviewed over Skype. And so we chose not to do that piece an hour before because it would have created some obstacles as far as equality. We did select a committee. We invited 2 parents, one of which couldn't serve. I had myself. I had Ms. Cosgray, one of our administrators in the district, and then we had staff from Whipple Ranch participate, including our front office staff. We had one of our mental health providers there. We had classroom teachers there. And so we had a good variety of individuals to sit on that panel. And then each of the interviews lasted about an hour. Some pretty in-depth questions that we asked our candidates to participate in. And I will say it was a great process. From that, 3 of our candidates really set themselves apart from the others. And when we sat as a committee and talked, it was pretty clear at the end of our conversation that Mrs. Hall had set herself apart from the group that was interviewed, and we are really excited to have her be the Whipple Ranch principal.
I'm excited, really excited, but we'll miss her as a teacher.
That it? Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, and congratulations to those people. We're excited to have you. Item 4.4, approval of substitutes. Strauss.
We have two for your consideration, Mary Chapman and Jolynn Lobaton, sorry. Those are all K-12 substitutes. Those two would be. I'd ask for your approval at this time.
Make a motion to approve the substitutes.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 4.5, approval of stipends and volunteers, Mr. House.
I'd ask for your approval in the following regular stipends and volunteers. Winter sports, postseason stipends, boys basketball went one week into postseason, and that's 8% of their contract. That's Matt Thacker, Mike Ferreter, and Kevin Kerr. Also, girls basketball went 1 week into postseason. The same is applicable with their 8% to their contract. That's Mike Brogan and Mike Ellsworth. Spirit Line went 2 weeks into postseason. That's 8%. That would be to Gabe Moya. Wrestling, 2 weeks into postseason. That's Tim Williams, Steve Allen, and John Wilhelm. Also stipends for high school boys soccer. Resending now as the entire coaching staff has shifted in soccer is year-round. So Seth Jane, Andrew Brumfeld, and Eric Rask. And then we also have high school music and drama, Laura Shumway, participating in the Broadway Review and musical accompanist. High school wrestling, John Wilhelm. Assistant coach, that would be a retro to the first half of the season, as he was first approved as a volunteer. Then he was made the assistant coach, but he was previously at first sent as a volunteer, and then circumstance caused him to move to the other. And then a volunteer for the high school basketball, Brad Carline, to open gym facilitator, a parent volunteer. I'd ask for your approval at this time.
I'll make a motion for approval of stipends and volunteers as presented.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 4.6, approval of certified staff for the 1920 school year.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'm excited this evening to be able to put before you our teaching staff for the upcoming school year, and to invite you to approve their teaching contracts for the upcoming year. I've had meetings with all the staff except for Whipple Ranch, which I'll meet in the morning with them to introduce their new principal and also talk about contracts. We have shared with them the effects of the governor's proposal to 20 for 20 by 20, and let them know what that looks like. So those teacher contracts will come in the form of a 5% increase, and we're excited that we're able to do that. And I would ask for your approval of these teachers at this time.
I'll make a motion for approval of certified staff for the 2019-20 school year.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this list of staff members? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6.1, approval of emergency procurement in the amount of $1,039.43 for repair of a special services vehicle. Mr. Housing.
So we had a very unfortunate incident. We sent one of our school psychologists down to the valley for training, was not able to return during the snowstorm and other things like that, and we had the vehicle just go to pot. So we had to have it repaired without a PO in place because of emergency circumstances. To be able to get him back to the valley, we had two choices: either do it down there or to have it towed back up, and we chose to have it repaired down there so that he can make his way back up after the snowstorm. we tried to see if another district down there could help us, but the repairs were too extensive, so they weren't able to assist. So we bring this to you for your approval at this time.
I'll make a motion for the approval of emergency procurement in the amount of $1,039.43 for repair of the special services vehicle.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or worries on this?
This was not one of our new vehicles.
No, this was one of our,
Right.
the little Jeep Grand Cherokee or whatever. it
I
might
just
be.
wanted that on TV too, that this wasn't
It was
something
not
we
one
just
of our
bought.
new ones, no.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
In reality, $1,000 is probably not that much considering
Yeah.
the cost of things today.
Wing it.
Yeah. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6.2, bond update. Mr. Housley.
Mr. President, members of the board, if it's okay with you, I did share in my superintendent's report. If you have any other questions, we certainly could entertain those now on the bond, but I did kind of share the overview in the superintendent's report.
I had the opportunity to go look at a few projects today, so if you haven't had that chance, stop by and visit some of the schools. It's really exciting, some of the things that they're doing, and even some of the interesting things they're uncovering, old construction and whatnot. But anyway, pretty cool. Thank you.
I think the junior high in particular, the staff and the students are doing really well under the circumstances.
I think so too.
A mess, but it's like a controlled mess over there.
Yesterday, I met with them throughout the day in small meetings because that's the way the schedule worked out, and they all seem to be in good. They had good thoughts, and they seem to be happy. Although, it can wear on you when you're inconvenienced and you have jackhammers or whatever when you're taking out concrete, and you have strangers walking around the campus, and you're not. But they're handling it great.
When will the junior high be completed?
June.
Okay. We're a little behind schedule on that one, huh? Yeah.
It's pretty extensive, so it will take quite a long time. And when I talk about completion, I mean completely all the contractors walk away, and that includes the new entryway, the pavement and stuff out front where the new parking will be in that area. So I did want to, I'm sorry, it just came to my mind. There's been just one thing I want to make sure that everyone's aware of. The high school gym is not part of the bond project. However, the SFB has spent, along with our staff, about a year and a half, year or so, a little over a year, reviewing the high school gymnasium. We've had some significant issues with the floor. In fact, the year before I came, which was 3 years ago, we spent $80,000 repairing about a third of the floor because of moisture, and it started to cup, and it was almost unplayable. So we brought in people to look at it and tell us what was wrong. Moisture was coming through the concrete at a 99%. Anymore, I guess it would have been raining from the ground. I'm not sure. But they have agreed to some things that we at first didn't know whether we were going to be able to get them to agree to. For instance, the gym will be conditioned air once the project is done. Last month, we opened bids for the conditioned part of it and also for the floor part of it. Both of those have been approved. And now we're kind of in limbo. And I want everyone to know that we're in limbo with that. Two things could happen. One, the SFB could use emergency procurement from the state legislature when they give emergency funds. And that could come as early as April. And they could begin that project towards the end of April, which would mean some significant changes. For instance, high school graduation outside in May. It could mean that we have to do our sports teams will not be able to utilize the gym. It would affect summer usage of the gym and other things like that. It would also affect the beginning of next school year a little bit to about September 1st. If that procurement doesn't come in in April, we will get it funding in July 1st if it doesn't come in earlier than that, which means they would start July 17th, which would affect the start of school in the gym. It would affect PE classes. It would affect volleyball and maybe even into basketball season because it's 6 weeks for the air conditioning piece and 10 weeks for the floor. So 16 weeks from start to finish of the project. So we're still in limbo of exactly what it looks like, but we'll communicate that when we have a definitive plan. But it will cause some inconvenience either on the end of this year or the beginning of next year. And so we just know that that's going to happen. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. Mr. Childs, do you
I will.
share that with us?
Mr. President, members of the board, we ask for your approval of the consent agenda this evening, which includes the ratification of expense and payroll vouchers, the ratification of the junior high, high school, and food service activity revenues and expenditures, the approval of the governing board minutes from January 10th, 2019, and the approval of any donations, which we don't have any donations at this time. I would ask for your approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 8.1 is adjournment.
Mr. President, before you adjourn, I'd just like to make a statement to clarify. We moved this evening's board meeting to 4 o'clock so that we could accommodate each of the board members, myself, and others the opportunity to go and see Jesus Villahermosa in his talk on school safety and surviving a lethal threat. I would invite the community as well as all of us to be in attendance. Been there with the students today, and the presentations were well received. Our students are awesome. They were attentive and participated appropriately. So we are excited to offer that as a community event this evening, and that's from 6 to 8 o'clock in the auditorium.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all being here. See you next month.